Good afternoon, everyone. It's 2 p.m. on a Wednesday, and that means it's Fast Facts and Features with me, the brand ambassador for Ethical Flooring. Kevin, I'm just loving you rocking that new chair. I just say it frames your face so well.
It's got a nice, perfect little triangular background
Like
there.
you're,
Hey?
like you're in the race to get those hardwood floors, carpets, laminates installed.
Yeah, life is a race, isn't it? Sometimes you win, or you hope you win at the end, but it's
Speaking of
it's
race, my friend, I understand this afternoon you're going to be joining me at Night Shift Street Ministries making sandwiches. So peanut butter and jelly against you making meat sandwiches with your daughter? Sound like a race?
yeah, indeed. And that's about the only thing that I can cook. So as I'm known at home as I can make sandwiches and I can make hot dogs. That's about it. So you have one of my two culinary skills tonight. You're in charge. You tell me what to make and we'll make them as fast as we can.
Fantastic. And I do know you're an expert on this topic that in this past week has happened to me personally in a couple of different environments. And it's like, well, I can't be the only one because there's 7.7 billion people in the world out there about the seasonal changes of your hard surfaces. And I'm talking laminate, vinyl plank, and even hardwood floor as it's spring outside and I'm throwing open the windows and strange stuff is happening to even my engineered hardwood floor. So let's talk about seasonal changes as well as the maintenance required as things start coming inside that normally aren't inside.
Yeah, for sure. And that's I'll let you lead the discussion, but just as a first thought, as we move into winter, and we probably talked about it as we moved from fall to winter, it's usually when the flooring industry and when builders and what they're a bit more cognizant that the temperature is changing and humidity. But obviously as we come out of it, that same transition point it happens, and we're kind of in that right now. So it's a great time to be talking about it.
So what can happen like in spring cleaning? We all like to, oh my gosh, the weather is finally like 10, 12, 15 degrees outside during the day and the sun is shining and we want to open up our windows. What can that outside environment happen, and what are telltale signs that are normal in our hard surfaces in our homes?
Yeah, so it depends a bit on the product. There's so many products available and they each have a little bit different construction, but generally what we're seeing now obviously is warmer temperatures and higher humidity levels. So I think something that most people don't really appreciate is that all floor coverings, really other than carpet perhaps, but all of them move to a certain extent. Like you can say, well, Kevin, my floor is glued down to the concrete subfloor. Yeah, especially if it's an engineered hardwood, it's still moving, even if it's on a minuscule or a minor level. Flooring products do take on the humidity and the temperature of the environment around them. The industry's been trying to get away from that for a long time with some of the new vinyl plank products, but even then they're definitely not impervious to that. But your typical floor, like a laminate floor or an engineered hardwood or a solid hardwood, anything made with an HDF core, which is a lot of products now, all of them are going to take on that humidity and are going to change shape with increases in temperature, which we're hopefully going to start seeing now. It's been awfully cold for a really long time. So in a short answer to that is that effectively the floors are going to grow. They're actually going to change in size, which can have various repercussions depending on, like I said, which floor it was and how it was installed.
So because if you take a look at hardwood floor underneath the microscope, it's basically nature's little sponge. It looks like it's got cell walls, it's got veins, that it is outside. Like I live in a little cottage and I'm staring at this beautiful old growth cedar tree outside my window. It's a sponge. Its natural inherentness is to want to pull moisture into itself to sustain itself.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. And so, as I mentioned, in the winter months, as it's expelling that moisture because the air becomes dry and cold, it tends to shrink, and which can cause its own share of issues. But conversely, on the flip side, as it starts to reabsorb some of the humidity and the moisture in the air, like I said, it'll start to grow again. Now a modern engineered floor, wood floor, if it's well made, thankfully, it's not going to react overly to that that type of absorbing of that moisture. But again, it depends on the type of installation that was done. So if it's a floating floor, which is basically an engineered wood that's not affixed to the subfloor in any way, as it takes on that moisture and it grows, it has the potential to do things that people maybe aren't going to be overly pleased with. And I'm speaking specifically about noise. There is the possibility as your floor changes shape, especially through these what we call the shoulder seasons, where we're transitioning from cold and dry to kind of warmer and wetter, or vice versa. The floor is changing shape quite rapidly, and for a short period of time you may have some small noises here or there. I hear things when I step here, it does this, and it's not an installation or a material defect. It's more likely than not just a temporary condition of the floor growing. So it's like I have a young teenager, and she's growing at a rapid rate, and I think I definitely remember that time as well. Everything hurt. All of my legs hurt all the time. And it's similar to what your floor is doing. So there can be a little bit of stress during these shoulder seasons.
And sometimes I can remember with specifically around that floating floor, which I know a lot of condominiums still want floating floors installed. That or in the low rises, that sometimes it's not the floor, it's actually the subfloor, the plywood subfloor, that's taking on the moisture and it's affecting the hardwood floor above.
Absolutely.
That's where the sound is coming from.
Oh yeah, I just was at a client's home where we did a floor about 3 years ago, and a new sound had started producing itself. So I stopped by, and it was a vinyl click together floating vinyl plank floor, and I started stepping on it, and I'm like, no, that's definitely not a vinyl noise. It ended up being a plywood subfloor issue. There's clearly a wood on wood, wood squeaking, which is typically a result of nails coming loose over time. So, that can happen. That can be temporary again through just as we go through this shoulder or these changing seasons, or it can be a permanent issue where a nail has just let go and now the plywood subfloor is riding up and down on that nail. But oftentimes it's just the movement of the house. I mean, in Vancouver, houses are made of wood, right? And I remember one of our early installers, he was an immigrant from Poland. There's a lot of wood installers come from, as you know. And, as I got to know him, he said, Kevin, when I came to Canada or I came to Vancouver, I used to laugh because your houses are made of sticks. Obviously there they use a lot more cement and brick and those kind of things, right? So I never thought about that, but it's true. Everything we use here is wood, and it's being built in the rain, and wood will naturally take on and expel moisture depending on the outside conditions, right? And a wood floor is no different. A laminate floor is no different. Really, any floor covering, even vinyl plank floors, which they try to say are 100%, impervious to these type of things, it's still not the case. Vinyl will still expand and contract, not so much with humidity, but more so with temperature changes.
Right,
so.
right. And I can even remember when we loop it back, not to the to carpet for a second there. It's not the carpet. I have run into sometimes where people were so set on having a true wood baseboard, not an MDF baseboard. And they're like, I'm a purist. I want to have pure wood. And there was a time when everybody wanted that natural wood look versus painted white. And it's like, why is it bowing? Why is it kind of shrinking up here and shrinking down there? And it's like, it's wood. It's giving off. Give it a second. Maybe get some more humidity, or maybe it's too dry in here. So what is wood? And I can remember Alan Sieben, we all know from Vintage, says, Jeanette, you came up with this great line that we're putting a natural product in an unnatural environment for it to thrive. So we have to respect it and what it's going to happen with that. Well, Kevin, you know what? I wanted to get into a little bit of maintenance. So let's carry that on to in 2 weeks. No, in 3 weeks, because you're back with me 3 weeks from now. about the different ideas, because I don't know about you, but it seems like some more dirt's coming into the house than before, because
Oh,
it's
yes.
drying up and getting muddy outside and everything in between. And we want to make sure we protect that. Probably the most expensive investment that is part of your house, and that is putting in beautiful new hardwood floors.
Indeed, and there's some very simple ways to maintain their beauty
Perfect.
and to take care of them for the long haul. So I'd be happy to talk about that.
Perfect. So next week we're really excited that your senior project manager, Bill Parsons, is coming on.
Wow, you convinced him to go on video,
Yes.
hey? He's not just a figment of our imagination. He does exist.
Yes, he's so busy, and I'm so honored to be able to catch up with Bill next week. And then in 2 weeks, Jan's back to find out what's going on in his world as the store manager. Then you're back to talk about that maintenance part of keeping your floors looking fantastic for years and years to come. So my friend, get that butter knife ready. I'm getting my butter knife ready. And we're going to have a sandwich smackdown at Night Shift Street Ministries later on this afternoon.
I'm looking forward to it. All right. We'll see you then, Jeanette.
Bye-bye.